Hi there, my name is Franklin Feliz, and today I'll be presenting an analysis of the advertising and marketing campaigns of Folks Health. This is the final project for IDH 3034, section RVT. So, I'd like to start today by explaining what Folks Health is and defining their target demographic. Folks Health is a unique digital healthcare company with services that cater to transgender and queer people specifically. The company is very new, having only been founded in 2019, and according to their website, the services offered include hormone replacement therapy, also known as HRT, with both testosterone and estrogen, online clinician visits, pre-exposure prophylaxis, also known as PrEP, and erectile dysfunction treatment. It's clear that their focus is on providing their clients with services that would otherwise be uncomfortable to request. And this is backed up by an article explaining the reasoning for their founding. These services are often stigmatized by doctors and other medical professionals who, to put it simply, don't know better about queer lifestyles and queer needs. And some of these featured stories talk about people who were asked invasive questions by doctors, like one patient who was seeking to go on PrEP but was asked why they'd want to engage in risky behavior or potentially cheat on a partner, etc. And these sorts of circumstances make patients feel uncomfortable or ashamed in ways that make it difficult to seek care. So what Folks aims to do here is to create a space where people can get the services they need, no questions asked. And they want to build a layer of trust between them and their clientele. And so how do they go about doing that? There are a couple of factors I think that play into this, but the factor that I want to focus on today is the ways in which they use visual media and advertising. How is their advertising reflective of their mission? And how do their visuals represent and amplify the voices of the queer community? I also want to look at how certain design aspects like color and imagery contribute to the open and welcoming space that they aim to create. So the first piece of visual media that I want to discuss isn't necessarily an advertisement, but rather the company's home website. I included a screen recording there of me just scrolling through the site on my phone. And I wanted to include this because I think it's important for the cohesion of the brand as a whole. Evidently, this site is clean, it's modern, it's colorful. Some of the more stylized photos are zoomed in on people's faces and shoulders and use a very stylized color palette. You're hit with hues of violet, royal blue, aqua, beige, yellow, red, and we also see a sleek font throughout the site. No one body text is really more than a couple sentences long, leaving everything looking very concise and very easy to read. And this reader-friendly aesthetic is not one that you would typically associate with healthcare. We also see pictures of some of the providers with their names and their pronouns on display, and we see the words trans and queer in huge letters like everywhere, making it very clear who this healthcare company is for. So I believe in order to determine the, meaning of what they're trying to do, we can take a look at Burke's structuralist approach. Okay, let me just let go. Burke's structuralist approach, which states that images can be seen as a system of signs in which every element of the image has a specific function. And these elements work together to carry out a greater function. In this case, the goal of these images is to get people to trust Folks Health. That's the greater function here. So how do these elements I've described work to do that? So the website, when taken as a single image, shows that it doesn't want to bombard you with information. Instead, it's more of a soft welcome, covering a little bit of everything that Folks can do for you. The color scheme, as we'll see later on, is a nice little slice of analogous red, purple, and blue colors with a little bit of yellow thrown in on some of the stylized photos, and these colors are repeated throughout their advertisements, I believe, for the sake of consistency. And again, the stylized photos that use this color scheme this isn't the aesthetic you'd associate with healthcare. You wouldn't see people in these intimate looking poses on the front page of a healthcare company's website. I think the modern aesthetic of the GUI is supported by the site's geometric design and also font choices. And when combined, these elements send the message that Folks is not your typical provider. To me, it says, we're in a healthcare for just anyone, we're designed for you. And I believe this is an important message to send on the homepage, which is the first thing that people land on when looking for information on Folks. So the next piece of visual media that I have here is a series of portraits of trans and queer people for the Glad Spirit Day Against Bullying. This Instagram post features portraits in the same style as those two other photos that you were able to see on the website. I think this one is pretty straightforward. This is a showcase of people who Folks is saying should be proud to show themselves and be in the spotlight. And while this also isn't necessarily an advertisement, it is a very, very smart marketing tactic. This is only one stepping stone in the process of garnering the trust in the community, because this post was made under the guise of, no, we're not trying to sell you healthcare right now. We're just showing you that queer people are brilliant and beautiful. And as we can see here, there's a wide range of race and gender expressions and just very different people in these photos to maximize inclusivity. And there are many examples of this same tactic elsewhere on the Instagram account and on other platforms, but ultimately these also fulfill the function of incorporating the community in their marketing and amplifying their voices. And that, again, is helping to build that layer of trust. So visual number 3 is a very simple advertisement. Here we can see an image of the neck and jaw area of a femme presenting person. Her nails are long and painted in various colors that also match the color scheme of the rest of the brand. And she has some lip gloss on and some serious lip liner, as well as very big hoop earrings. The bottom of the frame contains the text "Folks" in all caps, and superimposed over everything are a few estrogen containers in the bottom right corner. So what I take from this is that the person in this photo is a trans woman undergoing HRT. I believe the message is that she's able to express her true self thanks to the estrogen she receives from folks, assumedly, and that other trans women like her can do the same. While this seems like a pretty concise little message, there's an extra layer, I think, of subtext here related to what this woman represents in terms of race. As in wider society, racism is pretty rampant in the queer community. For the longest time, what little we had of queer representation in the media was dominated by white, cisgender, gay people. And this ad is kind of the antithesis to that. Although you can't see her face, her expression of chola fashion and her skin tone lead me to believe that she is Latina, and this is significant. 15 or maybe even 10 years ago, you would not see a trans Latina woman grace the front of an advertisement. So what Folks does with ads like this is they shine the spotlight on underrepresented members of the queer community, helping to amplify their voices and normalize their needs. Burke states that advertisements represent attitudes towards commodities and help associate them with certain demographics. I think this holds especially true here because this ad states that HRT should not be something to be kept discreet or taboo. If it helps you express your most true, authentic self, then there's no reason, Folk says that there's no reason you should be able feel anything other than positive about it. So next up we have a billboard ad. This one is probably the simplest of the bunch. All it displays is text reading "Trans lives are precious" in all caps with the Folks logo beneath it. Nothing more, nothing less. This billboard is located in Palm Beach, Florida near I-95, which is close to the Palm Beach International Airport and the Mar-a-Lago Club Resort. Don't let this one fool you though, because it still does a lot. Firstly, it conflates the concerns of the queer community with the concerns of the company, helping people who pass on the interstate to identify with Folks' mission and become curious about what Folks is. Secondly, it sends a clear message that whatever Folks Health is, transgender people are 100% welcome. And lastly, it serves as a very big middle finger to a certain someone, since Mar-a-Lago is owned by former President Donald Trump. The Trump administration focused on taking down anti-discriminatory policies in regards to trans Americans in the medical and military field. So to have this billboard located right outside his privately owned resort during the Biden administration is an incredibly smart move in terms of marketing. While the authenticity of their activism may be questionable, it definitely helps queer and trans people discover what Folks is and eventually grow to trust the company. So the last piece of visual marketing is a short video called "Taking Up Space." I'll have it play there on the slide as I speak. But the video is 4 minutes long and contains some artistic shots of people posing, walking, laying down, and just moving. They're smiling, they're hugging, they're kissing, they're interlocking hands, and it features people of all colors, ages, and sizes. Some of the shots have a vintage film frame around them, and some of the shots are just still photos, and some of the shots are just word-by-word transcriptions of the narration. While it all looks very pretty, how does this video's visuals relate to the message? Well, the title derives from the message. The film tells queer people to not be afraid to take up space. The end card right before the credits expands on this, but the point I'm trying making here is much like how the video tells people don't hide, the video also does not hide its message. It's a bit of an Inception thing, but it's very clever on their part. The visuals lend themselves to this message as well. These people express themselves the way they want to, even if it's outside heteronormative standards, and the video showcases queer relationships, love, and intimacy when historically such intimacy would be shunned. The video tells queer people that Folks believes that they should be free to express their love and that Folks identifies with their struggles. But again, ultimately, this is an advertisement, even if it is considered a short film. And again, the film fulfills the functions of amplifying queer voices and creating a welcoming space, as well as getting others to identify with the company's mission. So with that, we reached the conclusion of this presentation. Thank you so much for listening.